hello, Karl. Hello,
Hello.
Giles.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, yeah.
Hey.
Long time no see, Giles. How's it going?
What, about 4.5 minutes?
Yeah, just about that. So Giles has just put me through. How would you? Well, I've just had to admit my sins to Giles.
Yeah, you've just done your Agile Confessional recording. Look, we can't give any of those secrets away until the recording goes live. But,
How did she do that, Giles? I mean, it must have taken like 5 hours.
It took multiple recordings. I'm going to be stitching hours of MP3 together to try and get the sort of the best in a 10-minute episode. But
Karl, you might have to put out a special post.
Oh yeah, and I really wanted to. I had a really good post all set up, and it was written like Agile World supports its staff member as the revelations and confessions start to appear online. And well, no matter what the rumors are, we stand by our staff. But there was some prima donna on TV at the same time flouncing around, so we decided not to go with it, lest it be confused with actual news.
Oh, well, I'm glad you will support me through my sins, and I'll update you on my sins later.
they are very deep. They are certainly worth a dedicated listen, shall we say, just to get to the bottom of them. They're very good. They're very good.
Well, you know, if Agile World ends today, you'll know that Karl's left me, done a runner, divorced me in our friendship relationship, and just gone, yeah.
Was there anything about manipulation in there?
A little bit.
Oh, there you go. You started the rumors now. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Giles. And thank you, because this is technically a back-to-back recording for you.
No worries.
You busy?
Yeah, fairly busy. Fairly busy. I mean, not only with just all the sort of the volunteering stuff, and the activity stuff, and the conference hosting and all of those things that are coming up, but also you know, just with the job and the teams and everything else. So yeah, having great fun at the moment. And I tell you what, it does feel good to be busy, and sort of, you know, lots of fingers and lots of pies, I suppose, at the moment. But getting to meet, obviously, lots of cool people, especially with the meetup groups at the moment. So from that perspective as well, lots of learning going on, and having.
So Giles, I have a reader's question here. Agile, truth or lie?
Oh, lie, lies, more damn lies. Come on, it's how we've made our careers, isn't it? So it has to be lies.
Well, I mean, you know, we would like to purport on a marketing piece such as this. How did you get into Agile anyway? What, you know, if you've now been so sullied by it, how did you get into it? Why did you start?
It's all good. We know that, and it doesn't have Agile Lies World on your hat. So for me, you know, I'm a software engineer by qualification, by degree, and just found out that actually my fellow person here, confessee, is from a similar part of the world as I'm from as well, and so spent a large part of my early career as software engineer in the West Country, and I was having good fun with it. And I was probably a slightly late adopter to the Agile world. I'd sort of been hearing rumors and murmurs, but it wasn't like we had, you know, information at sort of our fingertips like we do today. You know, you had to see articles online, or you had to find books about it. And it wasn't like, you know, the actual, you know, signing of a manifesto in 2001. Sorry, did it ever happen? You know, blink and you missed it. If you didn't hear about it, it was something you never discovered until 10 years later. And so for me, I sort of got into that world. I remember picking a book off a colleague's desk with this word Agile on the title. And I sort of said, you know, Anne, can I borrow the book? Yeah, sure. Picked up the book and started thumbing through it and reading it. And it was kind of like, holy, there are other ways of actually delivering software. And of course, that's where it obviously was trying to remove the friction of back in the early days. And so I literally was standing there, reading this, thumbing through this book, going through it and everything else, going, right, okay, this is insane. I don't have to sit here and start, just put my headphones on and not talk to anybody else for the next 9 months. Working in that sort of waterfall or V model way that I was as that pure software engineer. And so, I got very early on in sort of 2004 into that Scrum mastery world. And then for the next, I've always maintained probably about the next 5-6 years, I thought I came out of that course thinking, yes, I am a master. I now can take on the world. I know
Masters
everything.
of the universe.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And I'm always skeletal, by the way.
Evil.
Exactly. And the thing that sort of then came from that was I really just did Agile probably for the next 5 or so years. It wasn't a case of cookie cutter, but I was fairly militant. I was fairly right. This is the guide. This is the book. This is the process. We have to follow the process. If it hurts you to follow the process, tough. We're following the process. And for a good 5-6 years, it was very much like that. And then
you're an Agile zealot.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, good God. Yeah. And I could probably have the badge and the title and whatever else.
Watch out! Here comes Mr. Agile. Everyone duck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is it wrong that I'm currently judging you right now?
Look, this is a long time ago, Sabrina. So hopefully things have moved on since then. We're now at about 2010, and I got into an organisation where actually I thought, great, this is awesome. 2010. And they were doing things or purporting to do things smarter and better themselves. And from my perspective, I was also working at a place which had good leadership as well. So I was able to get some fantastic mentoring and coaching and whatever from the people in the organization. And for me, that started me changing my own behaviors, my own growth and leadership, sort of journey I was on. And that was it. And then from then on in, it was a case of what else can I do to do the learning, like we were just talking about earlier, Sabrina, without giving any of the podcast away. That sort of element of learning and growth is then what's happened over the last 10 years. And long may it continue, because I wish I had done some of the stuff I've done, those sort of salient things you do in the last 10 years. I wish I'd done them 10 years earlier, so I could even be sort of further ahead of the game today. But hey, hindsight's a great thing.
At the end of the day, that's how we learn. I think I've got many things. I mean, I could have done what we did in the show. I could have done loads of things. I could have said loads of things with you previously with stuff I've done. But I think that's what makes us good at what we do, because we've done things wrong. We've done things backwards. We've done things differently. And that's what makes us the people we are. And yeah, I look back and I think to myself, there's some silly things that I've done and maybe overdone or not done enough of, and that's what I've brought through my career to make sure things do get done. I do find it funny how you did say that you were one of these that kind of read the book and did it like literally exactly from the book, which people like that are still out there, and that's what gives us a job. If you know what I mean, that's what's kind of made our careers.
It's made our careers in terms of being able to now actually help them have that sort of dawn of realization that actually you can't be like that. You have to actually inspect and adapt and move on and evolve, and actually, it's not as I often say at sort of conferences and webinars and things, taking an organization and somehow crushing the life out of it in a particular, framework or methodology or whatever. It's about taking that organization and creating that thing that supports organically the organization as the whole. There are many people who still get it wrong today, but awesomely, as we know, right, from our communities and the people we interact with on a daily basis, there are those people who truly get it and get it right and really want to help those businesses achieve those successful outcomes.
Yeah.
So I always think when I interview people about agile roles, can they expose that they were a zealot? Because I was one as well. And I think we've all been through that, and it's the revelation that it's maybe an evolving thing rather than an absolute sense that you're really looking for in people, because you don't want them to destroy the clients while they're doing agile. So that's part of the people parts of doing the work. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's funny that almost everyone I've met now has had that revelation. Oh, we can't do it this way. So once you stop being a zealot and then you start trying to work out the best way to work, you start to find things that work that aren't actually in any book.
Yeah, pragmatism. Sorry, I was just going to...
Go.
Pragmatism, I think, is the key there, right? For me, it's always been this thing of sometimes you don't even need to bring the word agile or agility into conversation. Yeah. It's literally about what's right in front of us that we can't see. What are the things that are limiting us? You don't need to suddenly bring the wording agile or agility into the conversation. Pragmatism, right? And I sometimes feel it's funny that there's a lot of us and a lot of friends as well who kind of feel, a little bit like frauds for somehow being paid to just impart pragmatic knowledge, right? And to impart common sense to people. But that's what we're doing.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think to myself that there's loads of courses out there, and I'm not going against these courses, but there's loads of courses to be an agile coach. But a lot of people need to realize is, yes, you can go on these courses. They're almost like plugins. They're almost like extended snap-ons, if you think about it. But actually, a good agile coach is somebody that has actually grown into it and experienced it. They need to experience these things. They need to make these mistakes. They need to have that experience to be a good agile coach. And then these courses you have out there are just extra plugins to extend your knowledge and extend your experience and almost widen your knowledge and experience. But I find I see these courses that say you could be an agile coach by doing this course. It's the same as you can be a scrum master by being this course. Well, no, you can be a scrum master by doing it. You can all do a course and do an exam, which is great. And don't get me wrong, because I've done it and I'm all for it. But actually implementing those ways of working and implementing what it is, that's what makes you part of that role. Karl, you're giving me a look. Have you frozen? Or you give me
No, I'm still here. No, it's. I mean, I think one of the interesting things from the festival we've just had is that as a central team, we didn't choose a flavor of agile that we wanted to be involved with, and we started calling it flavors of agile rather than even methods, because I don't think they're really methods. I think they are perspectives born of a certain set of criteria and experience. But once you apply them, they change. I mean, it's that whole classic thing about you can have a plan as a general, but the minute you're in a battle, it's completely gone. You have to respond with what you've got. So, do you have a favorite flavor?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually spent a large part of my world in the disciplined agile space. Now, a very early adopter, became a certified Scrum Master, later became a Scrum coach. But I was working in an organization that was trying to sort of scale up not only their systems, their processes, their people, but obviously the ways of working as well. And I ended up online trying to find things to do. And SAFe really was this. I'm talking now 2012. So SAFe was just in its early adoption and was just being sort of talked about. And I just, for whatever reason, and I've got nothing against it, it wasn't the thing for me. It just seemed, even in the very early stages, far too complex for where I was. I actually needed something sort of intermediary, more of a toolkit to help me rather than some actual physical framework, something that I could actually apply to other things, lean practices, Scrum, etc., but would allow me to scale and try and do things differently. And so I became a disciplined agile, whatever is the certified
marketeer.
Yeah, marketeer. But no, I think fanboy, you could say, but also proponent, supporter, whatever are the right words. Trying to find putting my teeth back in. I think that I became very bought into what it was trying to do to help organisations scale very early on. I became the UK's first certified disciplined agilist back in November 2013. and I've done all of my coaching in the world as well. I'm going to become a instructor, DA instructor, the first one for PMI DA in a couple of months.
Cool.
I'm currently going through my instructor training at the moment, and I'm going to be working with some clients and working with some associate companies to offer the training. So I'm not necessarily beholden to it, because I've done lean qualifications and other things like that as well. You know, I've enjoy learning about less and Scrum at scale and all of those things as well. I've worked in organizations running safe, and it's worked. But for me, my personal thing that I've spent a large part of my career learning is being part of the sort of growth and involvement of disciplined Agile.
That's interesting. I did try and find someone who would take me on as in scaled Agile at portfolio level, and I couldn't find anyone willing to do the course to actually. It's so complex. I mean, it's the most complex end of Agile, dealing with the executive board and the thematic approach to running enterprises. But I've actually had practical experience of doing it. So I wanted to take that against the. So I tend to do practice before I do the training.
Well, I think that's pretty much the same as a lot of people I know who, you know, aren't necessarily fighting against particular frameworks or methodologies. They want to see it in action. They want to practice it first of all. And for many years, I had to do that before, you know, I got into actually becoming a DA coach. I had to actually make sure I was putting it into practice and trialing it out. And of course, you know, you get to the successes and the failures, the war wounds and the trophies, so and everything else in between. But it's only by doing that can you then actually go around and actually become that coach or instructor if you then want to be able to qualify people. And that's what, you know, I'm going to be doing later this year, by actually imparting that personal knowledge of how you've implemented it successfully, how you've implemented it poorly, and everything else in between. And it's that sort of learning and open and honesty and, you know, in conversation, which really helps. And those courses I've been on over the years as well, where the instructors or the coaches or the teachers, whoever are there, who also share, you know, this is where I got it wrong, this is where I got it right, etc., etc. I think we've probably all learned as students in those courses more because of that honesty than anything else. So Karl's absolutely spot on. For me, it's about practicing it, putting it in play first of all. And I genuinely, I've always maintained, talking at other webinars, that I think it's given me my own sort of leadership skills as well, using the toolkits, using the approaches of putting it into practice in that enterprise world. You know, having operated as a CTO, you know, in tech companies, I'm able to have that conversation at the C-suite level and understand that, you know, how to have use the right words, how to have the vernacular where CEOs and CFOs and other people actually understand the conversation. And believe you me, again, it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago, it's without using the word agile or agility in conversation at all.
It's actually having that ability. You've actually sat in those person's shoes. So you know how to communicate with them, you know what they're after, you know what they're wanting, and you know how you can actually connect the dots because you've actually sat there, and that's from your actual experience. Love it.
Yeah, it is exactly that. And this is why I said, I think it's funny that me and a few friends often talk about the fact we get paid to impart this sort of pragmatism, this common sense. And yet, if it was that easy still, though, you know, everybody would be doing it and they would be naturally doing it. Yeah. And we would have long moved on from organizations who've grown beyond bureaucracy and command and control and micromanagement. We would be in a world where, you know, teams have more accountability and ownership, do have more of that sort of Dan Pink mastery, autonomy, purpose in what they're actually trying to achieve as well. You know, and we wouldn't have jobs. But yeah. I'm happy that in some ways we do, because we are the ones trying to get the next generation to move away from all the anti-patterns and then obviously help them do something different and behave differently in the future. I had some really bad CIOs and CTOs in my career and bosses who were so command and control and do this and do that and do the other, and I need this to, you know, and literally I wish I could go back in time, invent time travel when I invent time travel, and actually go and tell them how they're getting it completely wrong. Watch some YouTube videos from 25 years in the future, and see how organizations get it right.
Scott Seavright invented the time machine during the festival for all of the workers to get their work done. So that is a truth. Do you think Agile as a term of reference is dead? Do we need to change the name? I mean, we just sent all of this, set up all of these logos and everything, but it's so widely used and so often incorrectly used. Do we need to change it to something else?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if there is a better word at the moment. I mean, I think everybody gets and understands the aspiration of when an organization is saying it wants to adopt Agile, or McKinsey or Deloitte bring out one of their reports, which is the state of play and how many companies are successfully adopting and how many companies are only having short-term transitions and how many companies are not getting any success at all. I think that the umbrella term is there and works. But I just don't think it's in conversation in the same way it was 5-10 years ago. And I think that's changed, and the mindset shift has changed. I think also as well, the other thing is it's moved from just being something for the technology teams. And I have a better appreciation now, years on, just understanding how much friction other parts of organizations must have had with the technology teams I was either in or responsible for, because I was 25% of an organization working in an agile way, while 75% of an organization is working in standard practices, processes, traditional office behaviors. And so, of course, who's the odd one out? The 25% or the 75%? Now, I know I'm going to sit there and go, this is 75%, of course. But from their perspective, and why they don't like it and they don't get it, and so it often fails, is because they kind of go, no, we want you to work in the same way the rest of us are working. And because that conversation then wasn't organically happening with the other parts of the organization, there was huge friction, and everybody used to keep butting up, against those technology teams. And I think now the conversation's changed. We have all of these amazing experts in the agile sales space, and the agile marketing space, and the agile finance space, the agile HR space, all of the sort of the back office and exterior departments to technology teams. I think we've really now got a good movement to kind of just get the mindset across organizations without necessarily needing to brand it agile.
So I think the thing is, I came into Agile from the business world. I didn't come into it from technology. I can code, but I learned to code for fun, not to make money out of it. And I was involved in user experience, and user experience in those days when I got involved in Agile sat in the business. It was nothing to do with technology. It was about taking the product's features, or they weren't even called that though, taking the key components of the product and translating them into experiences, and then handing those experiences to technology to interpret them again. UX never lived in technology when I first got involved with it. It was like an architecture role, and so that's also when I saw Agile, appear and then steal user stories. I thought, I've got to get in on this. I've got to find out how this works. Well, no, it sounds terrible. I don't mean it as a negative thing, because we stole user stories from marketing. So it's not, it's just a progression. We all pinch from different parts of what works, don't we? That's how we evolve ways of working. But I think there's a large amount of people who have never been involved in technology who are involved in Agile. And that also causes conflict, because you think people understand the relationship to sprints and cycles and CI/CD, and they don't. I've been very fortunate to have a cross organizational view, but I'm quite happy to sit with the CFO and talk about how we can ensure that they meet their yearly targets based around strategic planning. And that's...
I agree. For me, I think one of the things that is key, right now is organizations do need the likes of us there, right? They need those coaches in play to help them have that situational awareness, to have that understanding, to help remove the friction, and for me, that's key. It moves the paradigm away from the employee just being a number in an organization, to that employee somehow then becoming a partner, that co-entrepreneur within the sort of the remit of the organization, somebody who's actually has some accountability for the success criteria of the business. And as such, for me, it's needing the coaches in play to support, to have that conversation so that people do understand what CI/CD is in the conversation, or do understand what user stories are, or do understand a particular way of working and why the importance of a particular ceremony is there to achieve a particular outcome. As long as you're obviously sharing the outcomes that come from all of these things, fantastic. But I've seen too many organizations doing Agile, or too many organizations failing at it, because they just sort of cherry pick it some bits and think all of a sudden they can classify themselves as Agile. And genuinely, they have zero claim to any kind of agility whatsoever. And for me, that's where it falls over so quick, and why they need people like us. And I think now there's this realization more and more and more. When organizations used to get rid of the Agile coaches and sort of just literally evict them from previous organizations, I think now they kind of realize, oh crap, we actually do need them. We should have them. There's a real need to support our people within the organization.
The term Agile is being used far too much because it is too true. Agile is taking over, and Agile needs to disappear.
You better explain that for someone that's not heard it before.
Waterfall Agile, but it's more waterfall with like a 10% that we think we're doing Agile because we've decided to break things up and call it sprints. I see it far too many places, and they'll turn around and go, we're Agile. No, you're not. You're Agile in a bad way.
Yeah, context counts, right? Again, there are going to be situations and projects and in the world where you need to use waterfall, V model, whatever it is, right? An actual framework to deliver an outcome. Doesn't mean that you can't use an Agile mindset to do things smarter within the boundaries of actually running a project in a waterfall way. So for me, I still think there's huge benefit in getting people to at least adopt the mindset and some of the values that actually help deliver outcomes, even if they are working in a waterfall way within their organization.
But say you're Agile and not Agile. Oh, that's what frustrates me. That's because I fully agree with what you're saying. There are certain businesses, by the technology they're using or the customers that they have, that you have to have this waterfall element, and it's okay. Don't be shy about it. It's okay. Yeah. It's not.
Waterfall's not the enemy of Agile.
Yeah, but to turn around and say you're Agile when you are actually 95% Agile, with the tiny little bit of Agile or Waggle, however you want to call it. I'm sure I could probably make something up.
Are we developing a new language here?
I can do it. It frustrates me. It frustrates me massively. Fragile is one word that frustrates me, and Waggle or Waggle, however you want to call it.
I might be responsible for that.
Yeah.
I'm one of the people, so I've certainly written about fragile. But the point is that stop lying. That's really the main thing. Stop lying. If you can't do it, admit you can't do it. Let's look at it, and then maybe it's not possible. That's the other thing, is you can't apply Agile everywhere. It doesn't actually work. You can adopt the thinking and the process and the way in which you engage with people, but actually a 2-week sprint cycle on a critical task program on a nuclear reactor is going to be a bad move.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
That was deep, Karl. That was deep.
Well, no, I've seen people try and apply it in critical task areas. Going, you bonkers. The reason you have the waterfall processes you have in critical task areas is to ensure checks and balances, so that you don't break the critical task.
Hang a minute, I've just had an idea. I may contact Tom Cruise and ask him if I can implement Agile into Mission Impossible. That could be my career. Hang a minute, I need to get Tom Cruise's number, contact him and go, you're into this, I can't remember what it's called, the stuff that he's into. Have you heard of Agile? We could do this for Mission Impossible. it would work. That would, my career would take off, even just being busy mates with Tom Cruise.
Either that or just take a.
Was this some weird dream?
Some really weird dreams. I tell you what, maybe that's for another podcast. Sabrina's random dreams. Ooh, spin-off.
Oh my God.
Right, we've run out of time now. We're going to leave that one to the end. Hopefully no one stays on to listen to that bit. Thank you very much for your time. We love having you. We hope to have you again, Giles. Cheers, Karl. And hope to see you guys soon.
Oh, thank you. Very kind.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having us.